Chapter 1128. The man who had been addressed as second brother glanced at him and chuckled sinisterly. I'm not interested either. However, for little sister's sake, I'm willing to get some information out of him. If second brother is willing to ask, I believe that this person will tell you everything he knows. At this moment, a burly man who looked to be at least 2 meters tall spoke. Of course, our second brother is ruthless. This kind of person doesn't have a strong will. If second brother is willing to help, there will definitely be no problem. The woman in red chuckled softly. Hee hee. The man chuckled sinisterly. However, you guys know that father doesn't like me using vicious methods to interrogate evolved beings. Don't let him know. Besides, I'm doing this for little sister. Since little sister has appeared, I want to meet her, said the burly man. Let's see what happens to little sister all these years. We don't know what happened to her. Let's tell father about her first and let him decide, said the woman in red. All right. Lin Yin naturally didn't know about this small interlude. At that moment, Lin Yin had already arrived at Wang Jingyang's apartment with the white crane. Senior sister, is this your house? The white crane sized up the place curiously. This is my friend's house. You can stay here for the time being, Lin Yin told the white crane. Initially, Lin Yin had planned to bring the white crane to Cloud Manor. However, on second thought, she felt that it wasn't appropriate. After all, Lin Yin wasn't sure about the white crane's identity. There was only one thing she could confirm. This young man was an evolved being with a very high level of power. It wouldn't be appropriate to bring him to Cloud Manor. During this period of time, Wang Jingyang had disappeared, so this apartment had been empty. It would be a good choice to arrange for the white crane to stay here. Senior sister, where is your friend? Asked the white crane curiously. The luster in Lin Yan's eyes dimmed when the white crane spoke. She had thought that she could find Wang Jingyang through Bai. But now, she realized that things weren't as simple as she had imagined. Wang Jingyang's whereabouts were unknown. My friend is missing, Lin Yan told the white crane after some time. Missing? But he was slightly stunned when he heard this. Then he said, Then what should we do? Lin Yan sighed heavily. I don't know either. I've been looking for him for a long time, but there's been no news. I'm just afraid that Senior sister, are you afraid that your friend will die? The white crane asked. Although Lin Yan didn't want to admit it, she was afraid that Wang Jingyang was no longer alive. Sigh, what a pity. Senior sister's friend is a man, right? His relationship with senior sister must be very good. But he said softly. How did you know? Lin Yan was startled. She did not tell the white crane about Wang Jingyang. Senior sister, I have no choice but to know. This room is filled with your photos. Take a look yourself. But he pointed at the photos hanging on the walls. Lin Yan instinctively scanned her surroundings. In Wang Jingyang's apartment, there were many photos of her and Wang Jingyang in the past. Senior sister, was your friend captured by someone or something? But he asked again. I suspect that someone took him away, replied Lin Yan. End of chapter. Chapter 1129. The white crane pondered this for a moment before it asked Lin Yan. Senior sister, do you need help? I can help you look for your friend. Lin Yan's expression changed as she stared at the white crane in astonishment. This young man could help her find Wang Jingyang? Baihe, are you serious? Lin Yan asked anxiously. Senior sister, when have I ever lied to you? I'll definitely help you if I say I can. The white crane nodded. Before Lin Yan could speak, the white crane added. Senior sister, I have to say this first. If you think that your friend is no longer around, it's better not to look for him. Otherwise, you'll feel bad when you find his corpse. If you don't look for him, at least you'll have something to think about. The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched when she heard the white crane. This kid really knew how to talk. I want to see him if he's alive. If he's dead, I want to see his corpse. Even if he's really dead, I want to bury him with my own hands. Lin Yan looked determined as she gazed at the white crane. All right then. The white crane nodded. Since you've said so, I definitely won't have a problem. Baihe, what do you plan to do? Lin Yan's gaze landed on the white crane. As long as you can really find my friend, I'll owe you 2 huge favors. The first favor was that the white crane had saved her tonight. Senior sister, I can't guarantee that. But I can try my best, replied the white crane. I believe you, replied Lin Yan. Lin Yan had seen the white crane's evolved body with her own eyes tonight. If the white crane said there was a way, there would definitely be a way. Regardless of whether she could find Wang Jingyang or not, she had to give it a try. The white crane walked into the bedroom and opened the wardrobe. He took out a set of pajamas and sniffed it. Lin Yan was speechless. What kind of fetish was this? The white crane frowned and mumbled. Why do I sense the aura of a genetic evolution? What? Lin Yan asked curiously. The white crane shook its head. Nothing. The white crane found it amusing. A genetic evolution shouldn't be possible. If that friend was really a genetic evolution, who would have the ability to capture him? That was the limit of the body's evolution. It was absolutely impossible. Senior sister, there's a trace of your friend's aura on the clothes. I should be able to find it, he said. Lin Yan was speechless. Was he born in the year of the dog? The white crane was indeed exaggerating. So what if it could smell the scent on Wang Jingyang's clothes? How could it possibly locate Wang Jingyang based on that scent alone? What kind of perverted ability was that? If it's just an ordinary aura, I might not be able to find it, but he pondered. But what? Asked Lin Yan. Your friend's aura is a little special. You could say that he's 1 in a million, he said. Huh? Lin Yan was startled. Was Wang Jingyang's aura that special? Sigh, I can't say for sure. I feel that it's the smell of genetic evolution. Forget it, let's try everything we can. Let's go look for it, he said. Gene evolution? Lin Yan was confused. She had no idea what the white crane was talking about. Senior sister, you can understand genetic evolution as a super evolver. It is a very, very scary rare evolver, he said seriously. Chapter 1130. Lin Yan stared at the white crane in shock. Was this brat serious? A super evolved being? Extremely terrifying? Extremely terrifying? A super rare evolved being. Who was it? Wang Jingyang. The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched. If what the white crane had said was true, how could Wang Jingyang, an extremely terrifying evolved being, have been captured? Are you having a fever? Lin Yan asked softly. No, I won't get sick, replied the white crane. Did you just say that my missing friend is a terrifying evolved being? Asked Lin Yan. The white crane rubbed its nose and smiled awkwardly. Senior sister, I didn't say that. This aura is very weak, so it's normal to make a mistake. I don't think so. If he was really a genetic evolved being, who could capture him? Lin Yan heaved a sigh of relief. The white crane's words were exactly what she had thought. She had known Wang Jingyang for so many years. Lin Yan dared to say that she knew Wang Jingyang better than his mother. A super scary evolver Pui, hold on. Is there such a possibility? Lin Yan suddenly frowned. For example, my friend has just awakened and become an evolved being? If that was the case, Lin Yan felt that there was some hope. If Wang Jingyang had always been an ordinary person, and had only recently become an evolved being, it wasn't impossible, even though it sounded ridiculous. That's impossible. The white crane shook its head and denied Lin Yan's guess. It's not easy to become a genetic evolved being. The conditions are too harsh. Even some evolved beings with powerful genes can't become genetic evolved beings, let alone those who have acquired it, quipped the white crane. Lin Yan stroked her chin and pondered it for a moment. Then you must have made a mistake. Yeah. The white crane nodded. I think so too, but this is a good thing. At least I can find him based on this aura. When do we leave? What kind of preparations do we need to make? Lin Yan asked the white crane. Now while the clothes still have some aura, replied the white crane. Late at night, Lin Yan sped along the road with the white crane. We're still far away. The white crane closed its eyes, and a dim glow appeared around it. Your ability is quite special, commented Lin Yan. When I was in the sect, all the senior brothers and sisters said that I had a dog nose. He said. Lin Yan was speechless. Great minds think alike. At dawn, the white crane told Lin Yan to stop. Lin Yan's car had stopped at an intersection. This was a secluded area, and there was a deep forest ahead. He opened the car door and looked around. Then he sniffed the pajamas that he had brought along. The aura in this place is very strong. Strange, there are two similar auras. The white crane's expression was strange. Two identical scents. Lin Yan was confused. I don't know either, but that's indeed the case. It's just like a doppelganger technique. After saying that, the white crane walked forward. Although Lin Yan had no idea what the white crane was talking about, she had no choice but to follow it. For now, the white crane was her only hope. If even the white crane could not find Wang Jingyang's whereabouts, then perhaps she would never be able to see Wang Jingyang again in this lifetime. End of chapter. Chapter 1131. He. What do you mean by two of them having the same smell? Lin Yan glanced at the white crane in astonishment. They have the same smell, the white crane explained to Lin Yan. Lin Yan frowned and fell into deep thought. After a moment, she asked in confusion, if their auras are the same, why are there two of them? The white crane scratched its head and said, anyway, they have the same smell, but there are indeed two of them. I don't know how to explain it. Lin Yan was speechless. Senior sister, let's not dwell on this problem. Finding the person is more important, the white crane said hurriedly when it saw that Lin Yan was about to speak. Lin Yan nodded and gestured for the white crane to lead the way. Relying on the white crane's nose, Lin Yan and the white crane walked deep into the forest for about an hour in the dark night. Senior sister, look. There's a fire. Suddenly, the white crane stopped and pointed ahead. Lin Yan hurried forward and sized it up. It's not a fire. It's not a fire? The white crane was taken aback. Then what is it? Light, replied Lin Yan. The white crane was speechless. Lin Yan looked at the light in front of her and felt strange. Why would there be light in such a deserted area? Furthermore, there was something unusual about the surroundings. It looked very strange. Senior sister, come back first. The white crane pulled Lin Yan to its side. What's wrong? Asked Lin Yan. Senior sister, there are many evolved beings patrolling this area, the white crane said softly. Take it slow. Don't alert the enemy. It won't be easy to continue if we're discovered. Lin Yan, who was deep in thought, surveyed her surroundings. She didn't see the evolved beings that the white crane had mentioned. Are you sure my friend's aura is here? Lin Yan stared at the white crane. This place was indeed unusual. If what the white crane said was true, there were many evolved beings patrolling this area. Wang Jingyang had been imprisoned in such a place. Who had Wang Jingyang offended? Of course, Wang Jingyang might not have offended anyone. It was entirely possible that Wang Jingyang had been captured and brought to such a place because of her. However, no matter how Lin Yan thought about it, she didn't seem to have offended anyone, especially evolved beings. Other than the Hunters Guild and Sibai, she didn't know any other evolved beings. Sibai was in her hands now, so Wang Jingyang should not have been captured by Sibai. It was even more impossible for the Hunters Guild to capture an ordinary person for an evolved person like her. Lin Yan realized that ever since she had found out that she was an evolved being, things had become more and more confusing. Is there any way to sneak over? Lin Yan glanced at the white crane beside her and asked softly. No, I don't know how to turn invisible. The white crane shook its head. Then there's no other way. Lin Yan replied calmly. Tell me where those evolved beings are. I'll sneak over and put them down. The white crane scrutinized Lin Yan and said, Senior sister, I think I should go. You can stay here and wait for my news. Lin Yan was speechless. Why did she feel offended by the way the white crane looked at her just now? Was he looking down on her and not putting her in his eyes at all? Senior sister, stand here and don't move around. I'm very fast. Don't move. After the white crane finished speaking, it walked forward quietly and disappeared in a moment. End of this chapter. Chapter 1132. Lin Yan listened to the white crane's words and stood rooted to the ground, waiting for news from the white crane. In the dark, Lin Yan hid behind a tree, feeling a little uneasy. She thought about what had happened recently and realized that it was unbelievable. After all, she had offended the Hunters Guild in Sibai before. As for Sibai, Lin Yin believed that he had recognized the wrong person. However, how could she explain what had happened after that? Besides Sibai, some evolved beings of a higher level had come, especially tonight. That man had said that she had something that his master needed. If the White Crane hadn't intervened tonight, the consequences would have been unimaginable. At the mention of the White Crane, this mysterious young man, who had an extremely high level of evolution, had insisted on calling her senior sister. Had it been a misunderstanding once, twice, thrice, or even 4 times been a misunderstanding, Lin Yin wouldn't believe it if it was really a misunderstanding. However, if it wasn't a misunderstanding, the reason behind it was probably much more complicated. Besides, she had been dreaming of many scenes after her deep sleep recently. When she woke up, the white luster on her body would dissipate. Just as Lin Yin was deep in thought, someone patted her shoulder. Instinctively, Lin Yin stood up. "It's me," the White Crane whispered to Lin Yin. Lin Yin glanced at the White Crane. This child didn't make a sound as he walked. "Senior sister, I've settled them all." There were 7 of them. The White Crane smiled at Lin Yin. Lin Yin was startled when she heard that. 7 evolved beings. The White Crane had only left for 10 minutes. In such a short time, he had defeated 7 evolved beings? "Senior sister, it's safe now. Let's go and find your friend." The White Crane grinned. "Okay." Lin Yin trailed after the White Crane. As they got closer and closer to the light, Lin Yin and the White Crane realized that there was a building in front of them that looked like a fortress. "Senior sister, your friend should be in the house up ahead." But he stopped and said thoughtfully. Half an hour later, Lin Yin and the White Crane snuck in quietly. The fortress wasn't as heavily guarded as Lin Yin and the White Crane had imagined. The surroundings were quiet, and there was no one around. These containers. Lin Yan's expression changed when she saw the containers around her. "Senior sister, what's wrong?" Bai he asked curiously when he noticed Lin Yan's expression. "Laboratory," Lin Yan muttered to herself. Back then, she and her younger brother had been brought into a laboratory similar to this, and experienced an extremely dark period of time. However, this place was not the same as the original laboratory. At that time, Lin Yin didn't understand the significance of the laboratory. Even after she escaped, she didn't know that she had become an evolved being in the laboratory. When she saw the containers, she realized that there had to be more than one laboratory in her memory. Of course, she wasn't sure if this laboratory had anything to do with the one she had been forced to go to when she was young. "I'm afraid this place is used to create postnatal evolved beings," Lin Yin thought to herself. So Wang Jingyang was also abducted to the laboratory, and they wanted to turn him into a postnatal evolver? Lin Yin was scratching her head in confusion. She had no idea what had happened to Wang Jingyang. Chapter 1133. Lin Yin had never imagined that Wang Jingyang would be captured and brought into such a laboratory. Just as Lin Yin was about to say something, an ear-piercing sound was heard. A second later, all the exits were sealed. "Have we been discovered?" The White Crane surveyed its surroundings curiously. Lin Yin glanced at the White Crane. "Isn't it obvious?" A second later, light footsteps were heard from behind. Before long, a woman in a white veil appeared. "Master!" Of course, the woman's expression changed when she saw Lin Yin. "Master?" Even Lin Yin was rooted to the spot. The White Crane had been prepared to attack at any time, but the current situation had caught him off guard. "Master, aren't you?" The white-veiled woman stared at Lin Yin and spoke softly. Lin Yin was speechless. Although Lin Yin didn't know what had happened, she reacted quickly. Her eyes darted around as she replied, "Do I need to report to you?" "Of course not." The white-veiled woman glanced at the White Crane. "However, Master, the few evolved beings outside seem to have been. Could they be the latest perfect test subject of laboratory number 9? The white-veiled woman stared at the White Crane suspiciously. "Laboratory number 9? Perfect test subject?" Lin Yin looked calm on the surface, but deep down, she was panicking. She couldn't understand a single word this woman was saying. However, even if she couldn't understand, She had to seize this opportunity to have a misunderstanding that was beneficial to her. Lin Yan had no idea what was going on in this laboratory, nor did she know how dangerous it was. If she wasn't careful, she and the white crane might be left here. Yes, he is the latest perfect test subject of laboratory number 9. He is my proudest creation. The few people outside are just for him to try, replied Lin Yan calmly. Lin Yan could only bite the bullet and accept the role. After all, she was an actress. It wouldn't be difficult for her to act without a script. She was just echoing the woman's words. I didn't expect the perfect test subject of laboratory number 9 to be born in such a short time. Master is indeed impressive. The white-veiled woman nodded. After listening to the white-veiled woman, Lin Yan had a rough idea of what was going on. The master that the white-veiled woman mentioned should be the master of the laboratory, and the 9th laboratory should be another laboratory. It was not difficult to understand the perfect test subject that she mentioned. It should be a super strong postnatal evolver that was created in the laboratory. Of course, this was merely Lin Yan's understanding. If she got it wrong, she wouldn't be able to continue acting. Fortunately, Lin Yan's understanding wasn't wrong. The white-veiled lady didn't sense anything amiss either. The white crane tugged at Lin Yan's sleeve gently. Lin Yan lowered her head to study the crane. Lin Yan shot a look at the white crane, which was about to speak. The white crane understood, and did not say anything else. Where are the people we caught a few days ago? Lin Yan turned to the lady with the white veil. Captured people? The white-veiled lady looked perplexed when she heard Lin Yan. Lin Yan was taken aback by the woman's reaction. Had she said something wrong? But he had clearly said that Wang Jingyang was indeed in this laboratory. Could it be that Wang Jingyang wasn't captured, but that he had shamelessly begged them to come in and reform him? That couldn't be. End of this chapter. Chapter 1134. Lin Yan didn't believe that Wang Jingyang would take the initiative to enter such a laboratory. Besides, Wang Jingyang was just an ordinary person. He wouldn't come into contact with such a laboratory unless he was forced to. Senior sister. The white crane tugged at Lin Yan's sleeve. Lin Yan glanced at the white crane with a puzzled expression. Why was this kid tugging at her at such a critical moment? Couldn't he tell that it was hard for her to act? Come over here. The white crane turned around and waved at Lin Yan. Lin Yan looked a little awkward, but she had no choice but to step aside. What? Lin Yan glanced at the white crane in confusion. Senior sister, isn't that girl your friend? The white crane asked in surprise. What? Lin Yan was taken aback when she heard the white crane. That girl was her friend. My friend is a guy. Lin Yan frowned. What's going on? Did he change his sex? Asked the white crane. Lin Yan was speechless. She's not my friend. I don't even know her, explained Lin Yan. The white crane's expression turned odd as it mumbled. This is weird. Is there something wrong with my brain or my nose? Senior sister, are you sure? This sister has the same aura as your friend. But he whispered to Lin Yan. Lin Yan was startled when she heard the white crane. This girl had Wang Jingyang's aura? Wang Jingyang's aura. This sentence seemed a little strange, and he felt that something was wrong. I mentioned that there are 2 identical auras. This sister is one of them. That's why I asked you if she's your friend, explained the white crane. Why does she have Wang Jingyang's aura? Lin Yan glanced at the white crane as she mumbled. The white crane shook its head. I don't know. Could they be father and daughter? That's impossible. Lin Yan replied without hesitation. Girlfriend. It's impossible. I don't think she likes puppy. Senior sister. It's impossible for them to be father and daughter. Even if they are father and daughter, their auras can't be so similar, quipped the white crane. Why don't you ask her? The white crane pondered for a moment. Lin Yan rolled her eyes at the white crane. How could she ask? The girl had mistaken her for someone else. If she asked, wouldn't she be exposed? Lin Yan's heart was filled with questions. Why had so many people mistaken her for someone else? First it was Si-Bai, then the white crane. Now it was this girl calling her master. Master, is there anything I can do for you? The white-veiled girl glanced at Lin Yan and asked softly. Lin Yan's eyes trailed to the girl as she fell silent. When the girl noticed that Lin Yin wasn't responding, she stood quietly, not daring to guess her master's thoughts. Did anything happen here recently? Lin Yin bit the bullet and asked. He couldn't just remain silent like this. Unless it's about my father, nothing else. The girl glanced at Lin Yin. Before Lin Yin could reply, the white-veiled girl added, Master, although I have my father's genes, I'm still far from him. I wonder if he's still alive. If he's alive, can I make use of his genes to perfect me? Dear babies, the updates have been unstable recently. Let me explain it to everyone today. Because of staying up all night, her body had not been very good. The doctor had advised her to rest more, but she had not changed her routine. In the near future, I will be using some sleep aids. The updates will gradually stabilize. I hope my babies can understand moi. Love you guys. End of chapter. Chapter 1135. The white crane stared at Lin Yin before glancing at the white-veiled woman. Initially, Bai He had planned to use violence to save Lin Yin. However, he was at a loss for what to do now. The conversation between Lin Yin and the woman baffled Bai He. He had no idea what to do next or what to do. Father, the gene. Lin Yin was at a loss for words. She had no idea how to respond to the woman. Even if this was just a casual act, she should at least have a general direction. What was going on now? Let's not talk about this for now. Lin Yin had no choice but to bite the bullet. Okay. The woman nodded. Then the place fell into silence. Lin Yin didn't know what else to say. The woman stood aside and stared at Lin Yin, waiting for her instructions. Bai He had no idea what to do. Oh, I got it. Suddenly, Bai He glanced at Lin Yin with a look of realization on his face. What do you know? Asked Lin Yin. Do you remember what I told you? There are two similar auras. Bai He shot Lin Yin a look. Lin Yin nodded in response. Lin Yin understood what Bai He was implying. The white crane had already mentioned that Gozi had two auras, and they were almost indistinguishable. One of them was this girl. However, she had already known about this. Why would Bai He mention it again? How is the father you mentioned just now? Bai He looked at the woman. Father? A hint of suspicion appeared in the white-veiled woman's eyes when she heard Bai He's words. Hadn't Master taken her father away? Why was he asking her this question now? Lin Yin finally understood what Bai He had said. Did Bai He think that Doggy was this woman's father? A child was a child. He was overthinking things. Doggy might not be able to find a girlfriend, but the age didn't match either. How could Doggy have gotten such an old daughter? Besides, even if they were biological father and daughter, their auras would only be similar. How could they be the same? Unless they were clones. Before Lin Yin could speak, the white-veiled woman's cell phone rang. She was startled when she saw the caller ID. Even Lin Yin was startled by the woman's sudden appearance. Caller ID's message. Master. The white-veiled lady glanced at Lin Yin before answering the call. Lin Yan's heart was in her throat. Could she have been exposed? Catch them. A cold, emotionless female voice came from the phone. Even if the speaker was not turned on, the voice coming from the phone could be heard clearly. Master, I understand, the white-veiled woman said softly. With that, the call was hung up. Senior sister, I think we've been exposed, right? The white crane gazed at Lin Yin with its big watery eyes. Lin Yin glanced at the white crane and remarked expressionlessly, You're really smart. Was there a need to seek confirmation from her? Wasn't it obvious that he had been exposed? There were surveillance cameras everywhere in the laboratory. They would have been exposed the moment they entered. The phone call just now must have been from the owner of the laboratory. In other words, he had really clashed with the owner of this laboratory. If she hadn't considered safety, she would have really wanted to meet the owner of the laboratory. She wanted to know how similar they were. End of chapter. Chapter 1136. The white crane stared at Lin Yin in confusion. Senior sister, what should we do now? We haven't found them yet. Lin Yan's eyes trailed to the white-veiled woman. Actually, it wasn't a bad thing to be exposed. Lin Yin would be under a lot of pressure if she continued to pretend. Besides, she wouldn't be able to obtain much information. However, now that she had been exposed, there was no need to hold back. How dare you? The white-veiled woman glanced at the white crane and Lin Yan. She was no longer respectful. Instead, her eyes were cold and distant. It seems that your master's appearance is indeed very similar to mine. Lin Yan glanced at the white-veiled woman expressionlessly. It doesn't matter that you've seen through me. I might not be able to continue pretending anyway. Before the white-veiled woman could respond, Lin Yan added, "Hand over my friend." "Who is your friend?" asked the white-veiled woman. "Stop pretending. Someone who has a similar aura to you," quipped the white crane. After hearing Bai He's words, the white-veiled woman pondered for a moment before her lips curled up slightly. "I understand. I don't care if you understand or not. Be sensible and hand over my senior sister's friend. I promise you that as long as you hand her over, we will not cross paths," quipped the white crane. Lin Yan shot a glance at the white crane. This kid was really naive. Hadn't he heard the owner of the laboratory asking the white-veiled woman to capture them? How could he hand them over? The white-veiled woman didn't seem to take the white crane seriously. She glanced at Lin Yan and said coldly, "Do you want to surrender or—" Bang. Before the white-veiled woman could finish her sentence, she heard a soft thud. Unbeknownst to him, Bai He had already arrived in front of the white-veiled woman. With lightning speed, he chopped at the back of the white-veiled woman's neck. Under Lin Yan's astonished gaze, the white-veiled woman collapsed to the ground after being struck by the white crane. Lin Yan was speechless. Wasn't this too cruel? She was just a kid. "You're full of nonsense." Bai He looked at the white-veiled woman with disdain and said, "I told you to talk, but you didn't. You're talking to yourself like a clown. Take her down first, and we'll interrogate her later." The white crane glanced at Lin Yan. "Senior sister, did I do the right thing?" Lin Yan was speechless. This kid was too violent. If she said no, would he hit her as well? You did great." The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched as she gave the white crane a thumbs up. Hearing this, Bai He blushed slightly. "Senior sister, you used to praise me like this too." Lin Yan's heart was filled with doubts. The white-veiled woman mistook him for someone else. From this, it could be seen that the owner of this laboratory looked very similar to her. Is it possible that this woman in the lab is Bai He's real senior sister? If that was the case, would the white crane beat him to death when it knew the truth? Lin Yan wouldn't tell the white crane what she was thinking. No matter what, she had to get to the bottom of this. The white-veiled woman was her only clue. Lin Yan had even begun to suspect that the owner of this laboratory was the one who owed Bai money. Just because they looked alike, she had been the scapegoat for the owner of this laboratory. End of this chapter. Chapter 1137. Senior sister, are we leaving? The white crane glanced at the woman lying on the ground before it turned to Lin Yan. Lin Yan replied softly, "Are we waiting for the owner of the laboratory to treat us to supper? Why should we let someone treat us to supper? Can't we eat ourselves? Besides, I'm not hungry," quipped the white crane. Lin Yan was speechless. This kid was cute, good-looking, and had evolved to a high level. However, its only flaw was that it couldn't understand human language. "White crane, carry her. Let's leave this place first," Lin Yan whispered to the white crane. To Lin Yan's surprise, the white crane rejected her without hesitation. "I don't want to." The white crane glanced at Lin Yan. "Master said that men and women shouldn't touch each other. I'm a man. How can I hug a girl I don't know?" Lin Yan was speechless. This master was really good at educating people. "My master said that I can only hug a girl I like," the white crane continued. Lin Yan nodded. "Yeah, master is right." "So?" The white crane gazed at Lin Yan with its big watery eyes. "Senior sister, carry her." "All right, leave it to me." Lin Yan nodded. "I'll carry you," the white crane quipped. "Huh?" Lin Yan stood rooted to the ground, dumbfounded. What was this kid talking about? "Senior sister, you can hug her and I'll hug you. Isn't that fine?" the white crane quipped solemnly. Lin Yan grinned and reached out to the white crane. "There's no need." "Why?" The white crane was a little confused and aggrieved at the same time. Because I think you're insulting my intelligence, replied Lin Yan. Lin Yan strode over to the white-veiled woman before the white crane could finish its sentence. Senior sister, can you carry her? The white crane asked softly. Lin Yan hoisted the woman over her shoulder and turned to the white crane. What are you waiting for? We shouldn't stay here any longer. Let's go. Okay. The white crane nodded vigorously. Lin Yan ran out of the lab with the white crane and the white-veiled woman on her shoulder. No one knew what level of evolution the master of the laboratory was at. If Bai He couldn't beat him, she and Bai He would have to die here. Of course, the one who was most likely to die here was herself. After all, the owner of the laboratory looked similar to her. She might even be Bai He's senior sister. Initially, Lin Yan had wanted to bring the woman to Wang Jingyang's place and let the white crane take care of her. However, the white crane had objected. Senior sister, it is improper for a man and a woman to be alone in a room. My master taught me that this is absolutely not allowed. Bai He hurriedly said. Since the white crane was unwilling, Lin Yan couldn't force it. If you're unwilling, forget it. Master has taught you well. Senior sister, I want to sleep with you tonight. The white crane gazed at Lin Yan with an aggrieved expression. Lin Yan grinned. There's no need. She took back what she had said. What kind of master was this? What kind of disciple was this? A second ago, he had righteously said that a man and a woman couldn't be alone in a room. A second later, he had shamelessly insisted on sleeping with her. As the saying went, if the upper beam was crooked, the lower beam would be crooked. However, if the white crane wasn't willing to look after her, she would have to stay with Bai. Sorry for making you wait for so long. Something happened at home, so I rushed back. Hurry up and update your story. Please forgive your bald old baby. End of this chapter. Chapter 1138. Bai He, do you really not want to look at her? In the dark, Lin Yan carried the white-veiled woman and hid in the dark with Bai He. Bai He glanced at the woman on Lin Yan's shoulder and shook his head firmly. No, I don't want to. I want to sleep with senior sister tonight. Who wants to look after her? The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched. Bai He didn't want to look at her. Other than letting her stay with Bai, there was no other way for her to stay. Helpless, Lin Yan whipped out her phone and called Xiao Yao. After a few beeps, the call was picked up. Speak. Xiao Yao's voice was calm. Lin Yan grinned. Boss, I'm sorry to disturb you so late at night. Since you're sorry, look for me tomorrow. Before Lin Yan could speak, the line was already hung up. Lin Yan was speechless. She had just been polite. Wasn't Xiao Yao being too honest? Lin Yan thickened her skin and dialed Xiao Yao's number again. It seems like you're not embarrassed. Xiao Yao's voice was heard again. Boss, it's an emergency. It's a matter of life and death. I can't do anything about it. Other than you, no one else can help me. Lin Yan smiled awkwardly. Who beat you up again? Xiao Yao's voice was calm. I didn't get beaten up. Lin Yan replied. I hit someone. You hit someone. You should look for a doctor, not me, said Xiao Yao. Lin Yan was speechless. The main thing is that I knocked her out. This person knows my friend's whereabouts and knows what happened to my friend. However, I knocked her out, so I can't ask her. So I thought of leaving her with you and Bai. When she wakes up, I can ask her about my friend's whereabouts, explained Lin Yan. Oh, replied Xiao Yao. Lin Yan was speechless. What did he mean? Boss, is it convenient for me to throw another person into your mansion? Asked Lin Yan softly. Whatever. I'll go then. I'll be there soon. Lin Yan hurriedly hung up, afraid that Xiao Yao would go back on his word. After Lin Yan hung up, Bai He stared at Lin Yan with widened eyes. Senior sister, who was the man you called? My friend, explained Lin Yan. Friends. Bai He glanced at Lin Yan and pursed his lips. Senior sister, why do you have so many friends? Lin Yan replied. I'm your boss. Is that all right? Boss. Bai He pouted. Senior sister, why do you have a boss? Are you short of money? Yeah. Lin Yan glanced at the white crane and nodded without hesitation. I need a lot of money. Money is just a worldly possession. We can't bring it with us when we're alive, and we can't bring it with us when we die. Senior sister, why do you need money? That kind of thing will make you lose yourself. It's not good. But he said anxiously. The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched as she stared at the crane. If I don't earn money, what are you going to eat? What are you going to drink? Supper is on me. But he clenched his fists tightly when he heard Lin Yan. His face reddened instantly. In the end, the white crane gritted its teeth and said, "Looks like what master said might not be completely correct." Lin Yan glanced at the white crane pleased. Had this kid finally understood? Later that night, Lin Yan brought the white crane to Xiao Yao's mansion. In the living room, Xiao Yao glanced at the white-veiled woman on Lin Yan's shoulder. He asked expressionlessly, "Does she know where your missing friend is?" End of this chapter. Chapter 1139. Lin Yan nodded and replied, "She knows where my friend is." Xiao Yao, who was deep in thought, sized up the woman in the white veil. "Who is she? How did you find her?" Lin Yan's gaze landed on the white crane. "After I left your place tonight, many things happened. I was chased by someone but he saved me." After that, Lin Yan told Xiao Yao everything that had happened that night. She only omitted the fact that the owner of the laboratory looked almost identical to her. After all, even Lin Yan hadn't figured out what had happened yet. "Senior sister, who is he? Why did you tell him so much?" The white crane glanced at Lin Yan. Xiao Yao sized up the white crane with interest before Lin Yan had a chance to speak. "It's really not easy to have such an evolutionary level at such a young age," Xiao Yao said as he studied the white crane. "Then you're telling the truth. I like it." The displeasure on the white crane's face dissipated, replaced by a smile. "It's fine if she stays with me, but it's not a long-term solution." Xiao Yao sat down casually on the couch and spoke softly. "That's true. As long as I can find my friend, this matter will be over. I won't make things difficult for them," replied Lin Yan. "Since your friend's disappearance is related to this woman, Sibai should be innocent. Why don't you let him go first?" asked Xiao Yao. Lin Yan didn't accept Xiao Yao's suggestion. Sibai hadn't explained what had happened between her and Lin Yan, especially after she found out that the mistress of the laboratory looked similar to her. She suspected that Sibai had mistaken her for the mistress of the laboratory. No matter what, she had to resolve the misunderstanding between her and Sibai. Revenge was secondary. Sibai insisted that she owed him 10 billion yuan. That absolutely wouldn't do. She could hit or kill her, but she couldn't say that she owed someone more than 10 billion yuan. Even if she owed someone 1,000,000 yuan, Lin Yan wouldn't be able to accept it. How long would it take for her to earn 1,000,000 yuan? How could she owe him just like that? "Sibai is locked in my room. If you want to resolve anything, you can do it now," said Xiao Yao. "It's better to wait for her to wake up." Lin Yan glanced at the woman. "Up to you," Xiao Yao said indifferently. "I didn't hit him too hard. He should wake up tomorrow or the day after tomorrow," he said. Lin Yan was speechless. He would only wake up tomorrow or the day after. How could he not have been too harsh? After leaving Xiao Yao's mansion, Lin Yan tried her best to persuade him to let the white crane stay at Wang Jinyang's apartment. Cloud Manor. After washing up, Lin Yan lay on the bed. Recently, too many ridiculous things had happened. It was like a mystery, but after entering this mystery, she found that there were many other mysteries. So she could never see the truth of the matter clearly. She clicked on Pei Yuqing's video call. Pei Yuqing appeared on Lin Yan's screen. The background of the video was a huge study. Pei Yuqing was in his pajamas with a stack of documents by his side. "When are you coming back?" Lin Yan asked softly as she watched Pei Yuqing. "I've settled everything. I'll be back soon," Pei Yuqing replied gently. "Great." Lin Yan heaved a sigh of relief. Chapter 1140. Pei Yuqing had been away from the country for some time, so she didn't know anything about his situation at the Pei Corporation. She could only listen to him. Too many strange things had happened recently, and Lin Yan had lost her backbone. She was also very worried about Pei Yuqing. If Pei Yuqing returned to the country and stayed by her side, she might feel more at ease. Did anything happen recently? Pei Yuqing asked softly. Don't worry. Everything is fine at home. Nothing special happened. I just miss you, replied Lin Yan. Miss me? Pei Yuqing's eyes glinted when he heard Lin Yan. Let me tell you. If you don't come back soon, I will go and look for you. Lin Yan grinned at Pei Yuqing. Do you know the way? Asked Pei Yuqing. I don't, but I can ask Xing Chen and the others. I'm sure someone knows, replied Lin Yan. Pei Yuqing was speechless. Lin Yan frowned when Pei Yuqing remained silent. She suddenly jumped up from the bed and sat up. What's with your expression? Don't you want me to go? No. Pei Yuqing chuckled softly. It's just what? Asked Lin Yan curiously. You miss me. You just can't help but want to look at me. Pei Yuqing replied gently. Lin Yan was startled when she heard Pei Yuqing. If you want to come, you're welcome anytime. When I go back, I can bring you here to meet my people, replied Pei Yuqing. I'll wait for you then, replied Lin Yan. There were still many things that hadn't been resolved, especially Wang Jingyang's whereabouts. She wasn't in the mood to go anywhere. Occasionally, she would feel that she was too weak. She couldn't even protect the most important friend in her life. 2 days later, at the Pei Corporation in Country M, Pei Yuqing was in the study, dressed in a suit. He had just attended a family meeting. Not long after he sat down, the phone on the desk suddenly rang. This phone was specially used to contact Lin Yan. The corners of Pei Yuqing's mouth curled into a smile when he heard the ringtone. It was an unread message. Lin Yan asked, Baby, what are you doing? Pei Yuqing replied, I miss you. Lin Yan asked, Really? What do you think? Lin Yan replied, When will you be back? Didn't you say that you would be back in 2 days? Why aren't you back yet? Pei Yuqing replied, Something unexpected happened in the clan, so we have to postpone our trip. Lin Yan replied, I knew it. But it doesn't matter. Can you come out for a moment? Pei Yuqing was perplexed when he read the message. Pei Yuqing asked, Come out? Baby, come out for a while. Come to the Pei Corporation. I have a surprise for you. He stood up and walked out of the study. A few minutes later, he arrived at the periphery of the Pei family. Baby. Seconds later, Lin Yan emerged from behind a tree. Pei Yuqing was startled when he saw Lin Yan. I told you that if you didn't come back, I would come looking for you. Don't ask me how I knew the address. I also told you that I would ask Xing Chen and the others. Lin Yan chuckled when she noticed that something was amiss. I thought you were joking. Pei Yuqing strode over to Lin Yan. Chapter 1141. Pei Yuqing glanced at the smiling girl beside him and asked softly, Why didn't you tell me you were coming? Lin Yan tugged at the corner of Pei Yuqing's shirt and replied gently, Of course not. If I had told you in advance, it wouldn't have been a surprise. I was indeed surprised that you showed up today. Pei Yuqing grinned. Baby, are you going to let me stand outside the Pei family's door forever? Lin Yan glanced at Pei Yuqing. Don't you want to introduce me to your people? I believe that my people would be surprised to see you. Pei Yuqing held Lin Yan's hand gently. Since you're here, I'll show you. Pei Yuqing led Lin Yan to the Pei family's building. After a few steps, Lin Yan, who was trailing behind Pei Yuqing, suddenly flashed a cold glint in her eyes. The corners of her mouth curled into a strange smile. A needle had appeared in Lin Yan's left hand, and there was a transparent liquid in it. In a split second, Lin Yan picked up the needle and stabbed him in the back. Bang! A second later, while Lin Yan was still in a daze, Pei Yuqing suddenly turned around and grabbed her wrist. Pei Yuqing's face was expressionless as he watched the needle in Lin Yan's hand curiously. Why do you carry this with you? Are you feeling unwell? Pei Yuqing asked softly. The coldness in Lin Yan's eyes dissipated when she heard Pei Yuqing. A smile appeared on her face once again as she replied softly, I might not be able to adapt to this environment. This is for me to use. Pei Yuqing nodded and replied gently, Go ahead. I don't feel so uncomfortable now. When I feel unwell. Before Lin Yan could finish her sentence, Pei Yuqing snatched the needle from her hand. Use it now. I'll help you. Pei Yuqing pointed the needle at Lin Yan. The corners of Lin Yan's mouth curled up as she vanished into thin air. Pei Yuqing remained expressionless as he glanced at the syringe. If I'm not wrong, this smell should be a specially made tranquilizer. Even a high-level evolved being would be unconscious for many days. Lin Yan was standing not too far away from him, looking into his eyes. Seconds later, Lin Yan chuckled softly. I'm curious how you found out. Did you notice? Pei Yuqing fell into deep thought. Even if they have the same skin, it's hard to hide a different soul. I've imitated you well enough. I monitor your communication every day, but I can't figure out what went wrong. How did you manage to see through me? Lin Yan sighed, looking disappointed. She has never called me baby. She has always addressed me as Mr. Pei, replied Pei Yuqing softly. That's it. Lin Yan was puzzled. Of course not. I'm familiar with her every move and smile. Other than her appearance, you're far from being able to imitate her. Pei Yuqing replied calmly. Besides, Xing Chun and the others don't know the exact location of the Pei Corporation. Seems like I was careless. Lin Yan chuckled softly. Not necessarily. At least, I couldn't tell the truth from the fake the moment you appeared, Pei Yuqing replied. I'm curious about who you are. End of this chapter. Chapter 1142. Pei Yuqing stood rooted to the ground as he sized up Lin Yan. His expression was calm as he said, I'm curious about who you are. The woman in front of him looked exactly like Lin Yan. Even he couldn't tell the difference. Not only in terms of appearance, but even their auras were exactly the same. Unfortunately, no matter how perfect an imitation was, there would always be some traces. First of all, she hadn't imitated Lin Yan's personality and habits. This alone was enough to make Pei Yuqing suspicious. Other than that, Lin Yan would never have found the Pei Corporation's headquarters. Xing Chun and the others didn't know the exact location of the Pei Corporation's headquarters. Even if they knew and told Lin Yan, it would be impossible for her to pass through the fatal area alone. Who I am isn't important. It's indeed a pity today. Lin Yan stared at Pei Yuqing and sighed helplessly. Do we have a feud? Pei Yuqing glanced at Lin Yan and asked calmly. There's no feud between us. Lin Yan shook her head. In that case, what do you mean by this? Asked Pei Yuqing. That's exactly what I feel is a pity. Lin Yan grinned. You have very good evolutionary genes. If I bring you back to the laboratory and use you as a main body, I should be able to create many powerful postnatal evolved beings. I see. Pei Yuqing fell into deep thought. The laboratory that this person had mentioned was no stranger to Pei Yuqing. In this world, powerful evolvers would more or less have similar laboratories. They would use such laboratories to add new blood to their clans and obtain more and more powerful evolvers. However, such laboratories were very secretive. No one would make such a laboratory public. Even the Pei Corporation used to have a similar laboratory. However, it had been closed for some reason. Pei Yuqing, do you want to leave with me obediently? Become one of the main bodies in my laboratory and create more powerful evolved beings for me. Lin Yan stared at Pei Yuqing with a smile. I'm not interested, replied Pei Yuqing. It seems like you're unwilling to leave with me. In that case, I can only take you away by force. Pei Yuqing glanced at Lin Yan. Of course, if you have the ability. Before Lin Yan could reply, she heard footsteps approaching from the direction of the Pei Corporation's headquarters. Looks like today isn't a good time. After all, we're in your Pei clan's territory. It won't be easy to take you away. However, you can't stay in the Pei clan forever. I'll wait for you. Lin Yan chuckled softly before her body gradually vanished. Pei Yuqing frowned as he returned to the Pei family. What was the background of the woman, who looked exactly like Lin Yan? Why was there no difference between their auras? If it weren't for the slight differences, he wouldn't have been able to tell. After today, if that woman's imitation became even more perfect, how would they be able to tell? Besides, he wondered if he should inform Lin Yan about this. Pei Yuqing had wanted to contact Lin Yan, but he gave up in the end. That woman must have cloned Lin Yan's contact number. She should be able to monitor all their communications. End of chapter. Chapter 1143. Capital City. Lin Yan opened the door to Wang Jingyang's apartment. The White Crane was lying on Wang Jingyang's bed, wearing his pajamas. White Crane, get up. Lin Yan walked to the bed and spoke to the White Crane. Lin Yan glanced at the White Crane and sighed helplessly. It was still drooling. Oh. The White Crane opened its eyes and looked at Lin Yan in confusion. Senior sister, I'm hungry. Then get up first. Why don't I order some food and feed you? Lin Yan glanced at the White Crane. The White Crane nodded. Okay. Senior sister, order some food and feed me. Lin Yan was speechless. How could he be so thick-skinned at such a young age? This wasn't a big deal. The main thing was that he didn't have any shame at all. Be good. Let's go out for a meal. I have to ask boss about my friend's whereabouts later, replied Lin Yan. After the White Crane woke up, Lin Yan took it to a food stall and took a taxi to Xiao Yao's villa. When they arrived, the door was shut. Lin Yan knocked for a few minutes, but no one answered. Lin Yan dialed Xiao Yao's number. What's the matter? Xiao Yao's voice came through the phone. Boss, I'm at your villa. Can you help me open the door? Lin Yan grinned. After a long silence on the phone, Xiao Yao's voice was heard again. It's in my villa. Lin Yan's smile gradually froze when she heard Xiao Yao's voice. What did he say? Which villa was it? How many villas did he have? How could he flaunt his wealth like that? The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched. Boss, it's the one that trapped Sibai. Oh, I got it. I put the key in the flower pot. You can look for it yourself. Also, Sibai and the woman you captured haven't eaten or drunk anything in 3 days. If they're not dead, get them some food. I'm in the company, so I can't leave. Lin Yan was speechless. 3 days without food? No way, boss. I just want to ask them about my friend's whereabouts. I don't want to kill them. Before Lin Yan could finish her sentence, the call was hung up. Xiao Yao had already hung up. Lin Yan just couldn't figure it out. As the only employee, she hadn't even seen a single customer. What kind of business did she have to deal with? She circled the garden and finally found the key that Xiao Yao had thrown into the flower pot. She then used it to open the door. Senior sister, where is he? He scanned the hall and asked. Search. Lin Yan sighed heavily. The villa had an upper floor and a lower floor, as well as 2 basement levels and a few dozen rooms. About 15 minutes later, Lin Yan finally saw Sibai and the white-veiled woman in the hall on the 2nd floor of the basement. Sibai's lips were white, and there were obvious signs of dehydration. The white-veiled woman seemed to be in a good state of mind. One is the evolution of the brain, while the other is the evolution of the body. Of course it's different, explained the White Crane, which seemed to have read Lin Yan's mind. For this woman, she wouldn't die even if she didn't eat or drink for a month, let alone 3 days. However, this man is an evolver with a brain. If he doesn't eat and drink, I'm afraid he will become the son-in-law of Yama. He continued. Don't spout nonsense. Lin Yan frowned at the White Crane. I'm not spouting nonsense. He sounded aggrieved. I mean, how could Yama take a fancy to such a son-in-law? Quipped Lin Yan. He was speechless. End of this chapter. Chapter 1144. Sibai glared at Lin Yan sinisterly as he cackled maniacally. Do you know something? Lin Yan glanced at Sibai and asked curiously. What do you know? I won't let you off. Sibai sneered coldly. Wow. Lin Yan squatted down beside Sibai and glared at him. You don't seem to understand your situation. You're already in my hands, yet you're still so arrogant. I think you should change your name. You shouldn't be called Sibai anymore. You should be called arrogant. That's right. How dare you speak to my senior sister like that? Do you believe that I won't beat you to death? The White Crane kicked Sibai. Don't hit him. Lin Yan glanced at the White Crane. Don't you know how strong you are? You can kick him to death. So what? I don't even know him, quipped the White Crane. Lin Yan was speechless. She couldn't refute it. He be good. You can leave first. I have something to talk to them about. Lin Yan smiled at the White Crane. The White Crane shook its head. No, I have to protect you, senior sister. Protect me? Lin Yan frowned. Bai He, are you looking down on me? The white crane fell silent for a moment before it nodded at Lin Yen. Lin Yen was speechless. Lin Yen resisted the urge to kick the white crane to death and put on a smile. Listen to me, Bai He. They don't have any fighting power now. You can go out and take a walk. The villa is huge, so there must be delicious food in the bathroom. Go and find something to eat and drink. Ah! The white crane was startled as it stared at Lin Yen strangely. The bathroom? What kind of food could there be? Lin Yen slapped her forehead. You angered me. It's not the bathroom. It's the kitchen. There's a fridge in the kitchen. There must be delicious food inside. Oh, alright then. I'll go to the bathroom. Senior sister, if anything happens, just shout for help. I'll definitely rush over in time. The white crane nodded. Before leaving, Bai He glanced at Si Bai and the white-veiled woman. You adulterous couple, behave yourself. If you dare to have any evil intentions towards my senior sister, I'll just kill you and bury you. After saying that, the white crane strutted up the stairs and left the basement. Only Lin Yen, Si Bai, and the others were left in the huge basement. Lin Yen heaved a sigh of relief when the white crane left. He was really afraid that Bai He would kick Si Bai to death. There was only a misunderstanding between her and Si Bai. In the end, it was enough to resolve the misunderstanding. There was no real enmity between the two of them. Si Bai, I heard that you haven't eaten or drunk in days. Do you want something to eat or drink? Lin Yen tossed the takeaway beside Si Bai. Hearing this, the corners of Si Bai's mouth curled up slightly. You're so kind. Don't tell me there's some poison in there. It's up to you, replied Lin Yen. Of course I want to eat. However, untie me first. These ropes are specially made. I don't have any strength, said Si Bai. Oh. Lin Yen looked at the special ropes on Si Bai's body and pondered for a long time. She frowned and said, Then you should starve first. We'll talk about it after the misunderstanding between us is resolved. Lin Yen had suffered at Si Bai's hands before, so she had a rough understanding of his strength. The evolved ability of an evolved brain was extremely strange to her, and it was impossible to guard against it. She didn't dare untie these ropes. Chapter 1150. Sister, it's been a while. The man's eyes trailed to Lin Yen as the corners of his mouth curled up into a faint smile. This smile was like the collision of ice and fire, forming two extremes with the man himself. Instinctively, Lin Yen sized up the man. He was wearing a tailored suit that didn't have a single crease on it. There was an exquisite crescent tattoo on the corner of his shirt. He exuded a cold aura that made him seem unapproachable. The smile on his face didn't look too familiar, but there was a warmth in his eyes that didn't match his cold aura. For some reason, Lin Yen was curious about the man before her. However, she was more curious about how her sister looked like. Lin Yen scanned her surroundings. Other than her, there was no one else around the man. So who was he calling his sister? Let me help you, the man whispered to Lin Yen. Before Lin Yen could snap back to her senses, the man bent over and picked up the things on the ground for her. You bought so many supplements. Have you been feeling unwell recently? The man picked up the bags and handed them to Lin Yen. Huh? Lin Yen stared at the man in confusion. Who was he talking to? Was he talking to her? However, Lin Yen didn't recognize the man at all. She hadn't even seen him before. However, the man sounded as though he had known her for a long time. He didn't sound distant at all. Sorry, are you talking to me? Asked Lin Yen instinctively. Yeah. The man didn't deny it. Lin Yen was speechless. Indeed, he was talking to her. However, they didn't know each other. Also, was he referring to her as little sister just now? When had she had a brother? Why hadn't she known? Lin Yen seemed to recall something. Could this man have mistaken her for the female devil in the laboratory? Sorry, you've mistaken me for someone else. I don't have a brother. Lin Yen hurriedly distanced herself from him. I'm sorry. You've got the wrong person. I don't have a brother. Lin Yen hurriedly clarified. I'm sorry. You've mistaken me for someone else. I don't have a brother. The man sighed. Perhaps living like a fool for the rest of my life would be very blissful. The man sighed. Lin Yan's face darkened when she heard him. Who was this person calling a fool? He could even mistake his own sister. Even if he was stupid, he should be the one who was stupid. Lin Yan coughed softly and explained solemnly. I'm sorry, sir. You've got the wrong person. I just look a little like your sister. Suddenly, Lin Yan realized something. Didn't she want to know whether she had a twin sister or not? Since the man in front of her claimed to be the brother of the woman who looked like her, then this man should be very clear about this, right? At this thought, Lin Yan probed. Pardon me for asking, but do you have two sisters? Is your sister a twin? The man shook his head gently. No. Did that mean that she merely resembled that woman? However, that was not necessarily the case. After all, the identity of the man in front of him was still uncertain, and it was impossible to determine the authenticity of his words. In any case, if this man really had something to do with that she-devil, he was definitely a dangerous person. It was better to stay away from him. End of chapter. Chapter 1151. Lin Yan was about to reply when a message popped up on her phone. What are you doing? Lin Yan hastily replied to her boyfriend's message. I'm buying something for my mother at the mall. Lin Yan shook her head after replying to the message. She turned to the man and said, Anyway, you've got the wrong person. I only have one brother. The man didn't say anything else. He merely nodded. It's okay. The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched. How could it be okay? Just as he was speaking, an urgent ringtone came from his cell phone. Lin Yan glanced at her phone, and her eyes widened in shock. It was Wang Jingyang. Doggy. Lin Yan's heart raced when she saw the caller ID. She picked up the call swiftly. However, Lin Yan didn't speak. She merely held her breath and waited quietly. Wang Jingyang had been missing for a long time, and she had received news that he was related to the laboratory. Hence, Lin Yan was certain that someone from the laboratory had used Wang Jingyang's phone to call her. She reckoned that they wanted to negotiate. She had captured the woman in the white veil. Lin Yan guessed that the laboratory wanted to exchange hostages. Of course, if that was the case, she could accept it. This would be the best outcome. As long as Wang Jingyang could return safely, she would be willing to pay the woman in the white veil. Speak. There was no sound on the other end of the line. Lin Yan couldn't help but frown and speak first. What Lin Yan hadn't expected was that she would hear the white crane's whimpering voice. Sister Senior, save me. Lin Yan was startled when she heard Bai He's voice. Bai He? What happened? Were you captured by the laboratory too? Lin Yan's heart was in a mess. She had no idea what had happened. How could she feel at ease if Bai He was implicated because of this? What laboratory? It has nothing to do with the laboratory, replied Bai He. Bai He, where are you? Asked Lin Yan anxiously. I'm at your friend's house, replied Bai He honestly. You're at Doggy's house? Lin Yan frowned. Hadn't she asked him to stay in Xiao Yao's villa, to continue interrogating that woman? Why had he run away? The white crane groaned and said with some grievance. Senior sister, you're not here, and I'm alone with that woman. What a scandal. So I went back. In the end, a particularly fierce man suddenly barged in, and even called the law enforcers of the human world to arrest me. Senior sister, come and save me. Master said that I can't do anything that violates the law. I must not be caught by the law enforcers of the human world. Lin Yan felt a headache coming on. What the hell? What are you talking about? Wang Jingyang's voice was heard over the phone. I saw a stranger at home, so I called the police. Lin Yan, when did you have such a silly junior? Lin Yan's pupils constricted when she heard him. This voice, there was no mistaking it. It was Wang Jingyang's voice. Wang Jingyang was back. You're Wang Jingyang? Lin Yan, who was in disbelief, asked tentatively. Duh. Can't you tell that yours truly has such a magnetic voice? There was no mistake. It was a familiar voice, and the way she was most familiar with communicating. This damn dog. Chapter 1152. Pop, what happened? Did you escape from the lab? Or did they let you go? Tell me the truth. Lin Yan yelled anxiously. What lab? It's a mess. I don't know what you're talking about. I just came back from work. Wang Jingyang's voice rang out. F***CK. You stupid dog. Where the hell have you been? You haven't appeared for more than a month. Are you going to die? I want to ask you, what's wrong with this little guy? He's actually wearing my pajamas. It's fine if he's wearing pajamas, but he's actually drinking the drinks in my fridge and eating the chocolates in my fridge. When I told the police to arrest him, he said that he was your junior. Lin Yan, if you don't explain yourself, I won't let you off. Lin Yan was speechless. So the law enforcer had been referring to the police? This D*MN kid must have watched too much television. Did he think that he was an immortal? Lin Yan hurriedly explained. Don't call the police. I did ask him to stay at your place. It's a long story. I'm going to look for you now. Wait for me. I haven't settled the score with you yet. Lin Yan reminded him repeatedly before hanging up. Then, she dashed out of the mall like a gust of wind. Half an hour later, Lin Yan arrived at Wang Jingyang's apartment. The moment she arrived, she saw that the door was open and the apartment was in a mess. The moment he saw Lin Yan, it pounced on her like a swallow. Senior sister. However, before it could get close to Lin Yan, Wang Jingyang grabbed its collar and pulled it back. Explain yourself. Why are you calling me your relative? You haven't cleared your name for trespassing. Wang Jingyang sneered coldly before Lin Yan, and he had a chance to speak. There are 16 bottles of drinks in my fridge, 3 boxes of limited edition chocolates, and all sorts of snacks, including the electric bill for the air conditioner and the tax for flushing the toilet. It's at least 10,000 yuan. Just 1 box of chocolates, 6 bottles of drinks. All the snacks are leftovers. He sounded aggrieved. Shut up. I said 16 bottles, so it's 16 bottles. I said 3 boxes of chocolates, so it's 3 boxes. Wang Jingyang snorted coldly. All right. Lin Yan's first reaction when she saw Wang Jingyang was to scrutinize him from head to toe. When she saw how lively and energetic he was, she finally relaxed. Doggy, how are you? Are you injured? Did they make things difficult for you? How did you escape from the lab? When Wang Jingyang heard this, a trace of coldness flashed across his eyes. However, it disappeared in the blink of an eye and turned into a blank expression. He scratched his head and said, What laboratory? What escape? Why don't I understand what you're saying? Lin Yan frowned. Weren't you captured by the laboratory for human experiments? Wang Jingyang blinked innocently. Lin Yan, have you watched too many dramas? Human experiments? Pup, what exactly happened? Don't be afraid. Tell me everything. I will help you. I won't hurt you. Don't hide anything from me. Lin Yan stared at Wang Jingyang with a frown. She felt that Wang Jingyang might have been frightened to death. This reminded her of when she had been bullied by her classmates, and she hadn't dared to tell her parents. Wang Jingyang stroked his chin and glared at Lin Yan. Are you out of your mind? Can't you just hope that I'm better? Why would I be captured by a laboratory and undergo human experiments? Am I going to be dissected and studied later? Chapter 1153. Lin Yan was puzzled as well. Wang Jingyang didn't seem like he was lying. Could he have made a mistake? That wasn't possible. He had said. Lin Yan's eyes trailed to Baihe as she asked solemnly. Baihe, what happened? You were tracking Wang Jingyang's aura. Baihe pinched his nose. Didn't I tell you? It has been a long time, and his aura is very weak. I'm not 100% sure. I might have made a mistake. Lin Yan was speechless. What a mistake! She had beaten up the people in the lab, and even captured the girl in the lab. How could this fellow say that he had made a mistake? I'll cut your snacks by half in the future. Lin Yan glared at Baihe. Baihe felt so aggrieved that he was about to burst into tears. Senior sister. Lin Yan ignored the kid and turned to Wang Jingyang, who was full of energy and vigor. Lin Yan asked, Where did you go when you were gone? Wang Jingyang replied, I found a job and I went to work. Lin Yan was speechless. What? Work? What kind of job could make you disappear for so long? You didn't pick up my calls, or reply to my messages. Have you been captured to dig coal? Wang Jingyang clicked his tongue. Look at what you're saying. So in your heart, I'm only fit to dig coal? Lin Yan's anger flared up when she saw how heartless he was. You'd better tell me the truth. Where did you go? Did you really not encounter any danger? Wang Jingyang replied helplessly. I really accepted a private job. It was a confidential job, so I couldn't contact anyone. How could I have encountered any danger? Lin Yan glanced at Wang Jingyang doubtfully. Could the person who had been captured really not be Wang Jingyang? Lin Yan muttered to herself. That's true. You're poorer than me, single and weak. Why would they kidnap you for no reason? Why would they want to earn a living? The corners of Wang Jingyang's mouth twitched when he heard Lin Yan. Lin Yan raised her leg and kicked Wang Jingyang's leg. At that moment, Lin Yan believed him. The White Crane's words had already proven the problem. Even the White Crane had said that the aura judgment might not be accurate, and Wang Jingyang's current mental state and appearance. There was a F***king mistake. It didn't matter if he made a mistake, but what about the white-veiled woman he caught? The joke had gone too far. F***ck. Wang Jingyang almost fell to the ground as he stared at the footprint on his pants in confusion. Lin Yan, what are you doing? You still dare to ask me? I'll break your F***king leg. 1 month. He disappeared for an entire month. Why didn't you come back before the new year? Even if you're going to work, don't you know to tell me? Before Wang Jingyang could reply, Lin Yan gritted her teeth and hissed. Do you know who I offended because you didn't answer my call? You stupid dog. Wang Jingyang couldn't help but feel touched by Lin Yan's concern. A second later, Lin Yan bellowed. Don't travel far when your parents are still alive. Don't you understand that? Wang Jingyang's face turned as black as the bottom of a wok. Lin Yan snorted coldly. Who would have thought that you would have a change of heart and run off to earn money? Chapter 1154. Pup had made a fortune. Lin Yan's eyes darted around as she pretended to say casually, Oh yeah, I remember that your birthday is coming soon, right? Wang Jingyang had a bad feeling about this. How could you remember my birthday? Lin Yan raised an eyebrow. Of course. What's our relationship? Wang Jingyang looked at her doubtfully, but he was still a little touched. How rare. Lin Yan giggled as she patted Wang Jingyang's shoulder. Pup, in that case, why don't you give me a bottle of skincare? I'm not picky. The purple bottle essence from Nature Hall is good. Wang Jingyang doubted his own ears in disbelief. It's my birthday. Why should I be the one to give you something? Wang Jingyang, who had been touched for a second, realized something. She had obviously heard that he had made a fortune, so she was trying to scam him. Lin Yan crossed her arms and said boldly, Who said that you can't? And do you know how worried I was when you disappeared? You unfilial son. Bai He, who had been hiding beside Lin Yan, peeked out with a jealous expression. Big brother, senior sister was really worried about you. I've been looking for you for days, and even went to that dangerous laboratory. I think senior sister treats you really well. If only she cared for me even a tiny fraction of what she does for you, I would die without regrets. I'm really envious of you. Lin Yan was satisfied with Bai He's words. This child was finally reliable for once. But why did the tone of his words sound a little weird? Wang Jingyang felt that something was amiss when he heard Bai He's words. However, he couldn't pinpoint what it was. He only noticed that Lin Yan was worried about him and coughed awkwardly. TSK. How could she be worried about me? If she suddenly starts worrying about me one day, there's only one reason. I owe her money. Wang Jingyang said that he didn't believe it. But in the end, he picked up his phone and searched the flagship store of Nature Hall. Double yeast essence * 2 times astaxanthin, gold concentration nicotinamide. Is this the essence? Lin Yan leaned over and nodded excitedly. Yes, that's it. Wang Jingyang coughed lightly and said, Why essence? I think the lipstick and lipstick are pretty good too. Lin Yan shook her head immediately. I only need the essence. Wang Jingyang looked puzzled, as this wasn't Lin Yan's style. Why? Lin Yan blinked and replied matter-of-factly. Because if another man gives me lipstick, my boyfriend will be jealous. Wang Jingyang. Not only did he have to give her a present for his birthday, but he also had to be stuffed with dog food by her. Was there any justice in this world? That little bit of emotion, he felt just now instantly vanished into thin air. Wang Jingyang was about to retort when the sound of footsteps came from the door. Then he saw two tall men with powerful auras, walking toward his small apartment one after another. Lin Yan, who noticed Wang Jingyang's gaze, followed his line of sight. Then, he saw Xiao Ji, and the man next to him was Xiao Yao. Xiao Ji and Wang Jingyang were friends, so it was normal for Xiao Ji to be there. It was also possible for Xiao Yao to be there alone. However, it was a little strange for both of them to be there at the same time. The little purple bottle essence was one of Nature Hall's star products. It mainly focused on repair, light lines and translucent skin. It was especially suitable for fairies who stayed up late. End of this chapter. Chapter 1155. When Xiao Ji and Xiao Yao walked side by side, Lin Yan actually felt that although they had different auras, they looked somewhat similar in terms of appearance. Besides, both of them had the same surname. Lin Yan glanced at Xiao Ji before turning to Xiao Yao. Instinctively, she blurted out, "Xiao Ji and boss, why are the two of you here together? Are you really long-lost brothers?" Xiao Yao replied expressionlessly, "No." Lin Yan heaved a sigh of relief. "No, I knew it. How could there be such a coincidence? How could you possibly be brothers?" Xiao Ji chuckled softly and quipped, "You haven't been separated for many years." Lin Yan was taken aback when she heard him. What? What do you mean?" Bai He blinked. "Sister Senior. They must be saying that they haven't been separated for many years. They are biological brothers." Lin Yan's eyes widened in shock. "No way." Xiao Ji glanced at Lin Yan with an indescribable expression. "Am I hallucinating? You seem even more foolish than before." Lin Yan's face darkened. How could this fellow say that? This was the second person who had called her foolish today. Lin Yan stared at Xiao Ji and Xiao Yao in disbelief. These two people were actually biological brothers. How could she not have thought of this? No, how could she have thought of this? She couldn't possibly have thought of this just because they had the same surname. "Boss, are you really his brother?" Lin Yan asked Xiao Yao in disbelief. "No." Xiao Yao shook his head. "He is his brother." Lin Yan was speechless. This was even more ridiculous than a TV drama. Was the world that small? Shouldn't the world be huge? Who would believe that she had met her brother abroad, and her brother in the country? At this time, Xiao Ji suddenly cast a casual glance at Wang Jingyang. "What are you looking at?" Wang Jingyang couldn't help but glance at Xiao Ji. "You're ugly," Xiao Ji said expressionlessly as he stared at Wang Jingyang. Hearing Xiao Ji's words, Wang Jingyang's mouth twitched slightly. "Xiao Ji, you can insult me, but you can't lie through your teeth. How am I ugly? If you don't say it today, we won't be finished." Xiao Ji stared at Wang Jingyang for a long time. "Your face. You're ugly, your face is ugly. You're the one who's King ugly. Your whole family is ugly," Wang Jingyang said angrily. Xiao Ji didn't care. He stared at Wang Jingyang and said lightly, "I heard that you've been missing for a long time. Little Yan has been looking for me many times. Where have you been?" Hearing that, Wang Jingyang sneered. "What does that have to do with you? That's a confidential job. It's absolutely confidential. No one can tell anyone about it. This is the quality of work. Do you understand?" Hearing Wang Jingyang's words, Xiao Ji looked pensive. "I see. You know?" Wang Jingyang frowned. Lin Yan glanced at Xiao Ji curiously. "Do you really know where he went?" "Yeah." Xiao Ji nodded and glanced at Lin Yan. "It's easy to analyze, but you're too silly." Lin Yan was speechless. "You're the silly one. Hurry up and tell me." The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched. "He should have been caught," Xiao Yao, who was standing next to Xiao Ji, said. "I think so too." Xiao Ji nodded. End of chapter. Chapter 1156. Tell me in detail. Lin Yan glanced at Xiao Yao before turning to Xiao Ji. Xiao Ji seemed to know something. "You were released from prison today and imprisoned for a month, right?" Xiao Ji stared at Wang Jingyang as he spoke softly. "Released from prison?" Wang Jingyang was dumbfounded. Why had he been released from prison? That wasn't right. Why had he been released from prison? Wasn't there something wrong with his choice of words? Besides Wang Jingyang, Lin Yan was confused as well. Released from prison. Wasn't that a term that could only be used after one had been arrested? What a joke. Xiaoji, what do you know? Don't spout nonsense. Wang Jingyang glanced at Xiaoji. Are you afraid? Xiaoji looked thoughtful. I'm afraid. Wang Jingyang glanced at Xiaoji in confusion. What am I afraid of? What's there to be afraid of? You're afraid that I'll tell everyone the truth, quipped Xiaoji. What do you know? What's there to be afraid of? Alright, tell me. If you can't, then I'll tell you. Then tell me. Lin Yan is the one who's afraid. Xiaoji glanced at Wang Jingyang and said expressionlessly, You were arrested. Lin Yan staggered and almost choked on her own saliva. Xiaoji was really good at chatting. He had killed them several times. And he had attacked them indiscriminately. Wang Jingyang was so angry that he almost couldn't breathe. He bellowed. Who was arrested as a PC? You were the one who was arrested. The F*King PC was arrested. You cripple. Why are you standing and walking today? Where's your wheelchair? You don't need anyone to push you today. Wang Jingyang hissed coldly. Xiaoji chuckled. It's fine. I've been in good health recently so I can barely walk. Are you angry because I was right? In that case, why did you go to prison? Nonsense. You're just jealous of me. You're trying to frame me. Are you even human? Lin Yan stroked her chin as she studied Wang Jingyang's reaction. Doggy, did you really get caught? You disappeared for so long. Yet you said that you needed to keep it a secret. That's really suspicious. Xiaoji's words make sense. Holy sh*t. You can shut up. Can't you hope for something good from me? Do you think I need that with my looks? Wang Jingyang was about to die from anger. Lin Yan looked enlightened. Yeah, you're right. Given your looks, it's more likely that you'll become a prostitute. Wang Jingyang. What the F***ck? Bai He, who was at the side, asked curiously. Sister Sure, what is Niulang? Is it herding cows? Lin Yan coughed softly. You don't have to know that. Lin Yan was busy dealing with the curious baby when she heard a ding behind her. The elevator at the end of the corridor had risen. Lin Yan's eyes had inadvertently swept in the direction of the elevator. She was about to avert her gaze when the elevator door opened. When she saw the man inside, her eyes widened in disbelief. The man was wearing a loose black trench coat and a pair of gold-rimmed glasses. He looked travel-worn, and his gaze passed through the short distance and landed on her. Of course, at the same time, he saw the other 4 people beside Lin Yan. Chapter 1157. Xiaoji and Xiao Yao glanced at Pei Yuqing curiously. Wang Jingyang's expression changed instantly, and Bai He cast a suspicious glance at her. Lin Yan didn't have the time to care about their expressions. Her first reaction was surprise, followed by fear. F***ck. Pei Yuqing. Wasn't he at the Pei family's headquarters? He had been texting her just a moment ago. Why would he suddenly appear here? Why did he have to appear now? Lin Yan glanced at Xiaoji on her left and Xiao Yao on her right. Then, she glanced at Wang Jingyang, who had a handsome young man clinging to his wrist. She had just replied that she was buying something for her mother at the mall. How could she explain herself now? This scene was too easy to misunderstand. Why had Pei Yuqing suddenly returned to the country and found his way here? Lin Yan's mind raced. Before she could react, she had already dashed in Pei Yuqing's direction. Lin Yan and Pei Yuqing's eyes met. Neither of them had expected this to happen. Both of them were stunned for a moment. A second later, Lin Yan threw herself into Pei Yuqing's arms. Darling, when did you come back? Why didn't you tell me? Pei Yuqing's expression faltered when he heard the girl call him darling. He retracted his gaze from the 4 people behind the girl and turned to look at the girl's delighted face. I just came back. Pei Yuqing paused before he added. Sorry, I wanted to give you a surprise when I saw you. That's why I used a special method. I thought you were at the mall. Hence, Pei Yuqing had probably wanted to give her a surprise after sending her the message. Thus, he had used his mental strength to locate her and come looking for her. She hadn't expected to find him here. Lin Yan felt even more guilty when Pei Yuqing apologized to her. How sinful. Why had she accepted the scumbag's script again? She had been wronged. If it hadn't been for the pressure in the air that made her hair stand on end, Lin Yan would have thought that Pei Yuqing was still as calm as usual. She didn't know if it was because she had come into contact with evolved beings recently, but she could gradually sense the special aura of an evolved being. Pei Yuqing's eyes didn't linger on Lin Yan. Instead, he turned to Xiaoji. Some time ago, when he was attacked in the Pei family, Xiaoji appeared and took away the mysterious man who wanted to kill him. At this moment, Xiaoji suddenly appeared here, which was indeed thought-provoking. What did the appearance of Xiaoji mean this time? Lin Yan hurriedly pointed at the pile of supplements in the corner and explained, "I was in the mall just now. I received a call, so I came here." Pei Yuqing didn't comment on Lin Yan's explanation. "Aren't you going to introduce him?" In that instant, several pairs of eyes met, and the atmosphere was on the verge of exploding. Lin Yan had already calmed down a little. What was there to feel guilty about? This had been a misunderstanding. All she had to do was explain herself. Pei Yuqing wasn't an unreasonable person. Lin Yan glanced at Xiaoji and was about to introduce him. "Oh yeah, I almost forgot. This is..." Xiaoji interrupted Lin Yan. "Let me introduce myself. I'm Xiaoji, Lin Yan's boyfriend." End of chapter. Chapter 1158. Lin Yan was speechless. What the hell? The moment Xiaoji spoke, Lin Yan coughed so hard that she almost choked on her own saliva. She glared at Xiaoji with a murderous look. Was there something wrong with this fellow's EQ? Was there something wrong with his brain too? When had he become her boyfriend? This should have been easy to explain, but in the end, he had turned it into a battlefield. Even Xiao Yao was stunned, and Bai He's eyes widened. As for Pei Yuqing's expression, it was needless to say, this pressure was no less terrifying than when Pei Yuqing had gone berserk. What boyfriend? Don't spout nonsense. Don't you know how to speak? Before Lin Yan could speak, Wang Jingyang had already stepped forward and bellowed at Xiaoji. Lin Yan was so touched that she almost teared up. "Pup, you should be her future husband." Wang Jingyang corrected Xiaoji. The smile on Lin Yan's face froze when she heard Wang Jingyang. Xiaoji, who was deep in thought, nodded and chuckled softly. "Yes, I'm her husband." Wang Jingyang raised an eyebrow at Xiaoji, hinting that he was right. This was a declaration of sovereignty. It would be best if Pei Yuqing flew into a rage and forced Lin Yan to break up with him. Then he would have achieved his goal. F***ck. Lin Yan wanted to bite Xiaoji and Wang Jingyang to death when she heard them. Lin Yan glared at them and gritted her teeth. She enunciated each word carefully. "Let me introduce myself again. Xiao. She. Was. I. Rejected. Absolutely. Chased. Begged. Chased. Lin Yan turned to Xiao Yao and said, "This is Xiao Yao, my current boss. He is the younger brother of the suitor I rejected." Then she turned to Wang Jingyang. "This fellow Wang Jingyang is the friend of the suitor whom I have rejected." Then she turned to the white crane and said, "I don't know this young man. He is the tenant of the friend of the suitor whom I rejected." Xiaoji was speechless, Xiao Yao was speechless. Wang Jingyang. Bai He. The four of them fell silent after hearing Lin Yan's introduction. She grabbed the man's hand and said loudly, "Let me introduce you. This is Mr. Pei. He's my boyfriend and future husband. Let everyone know. I hope that no one will believe in the rumors and not spread them. Thank you." Wang Jingyang's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He had thought that Pei Yuqing would fly into a rage after hearing Xiaoji's words. He hadn't expected that this wretched girl would be so shameless. She had ignored his feelings and cut all ties with him. How was he introduced? The friends of the suitor, whom she had already rejected? Although he knew that Lin Yan was spouting nonsense, his expression softened a little. Pei Yuqing glanced at Wang Jingyang. "I heard from Xiaoyan that you were taken away. It's good that you're fine." Wang Jingyang's plan had failed, so he had no choice but to give up for now. He instinctively denied it. No. Don't listen to her nonsense. His Piaochang was taken away by the law enforcement officers. Apart from Piaochang, he seemed to have gone to Dunyulong. At this moment Bai He, who was at the side, answered subconsciously. The corners of Wang Jingyang's mouth twitched as he looked at the white crane. Pei Yuqing stared at Wang Jingyang in silence. Finally, he said, "Although you're young, you have to take care of your health." Wang Jingyang stammered. Why was he the one who got hurt in the end? Chapter 1159. He was a little upset that Lin Yan had cut ties with him. However, Lin Yan's stern gaze warned it not to stick close to her. It could only whimper pitifully. "Senior sister, I'm not a tenant. Why aren't you acknowledging me? Previously, senior brother, and the others said that you had been abducted by a man at the foot of the mountain. I didn't believe them at first, but to think that you would abandon us for this man." The more he spoke, the angrier he got. What's so good about this man? He's so ugly. He had only said half of the word ugly when he caught a glimpse of Pei Yuqing's mesmerizing face. He couldn't go on. He turned his head away and said, "All right, let's just say that he's good-looking. However, I can tell that he's poor." The corners of Wang Jingyang's mouth twitched when he heard this. "He's the boss of JM Corporation." He was confused. "Is the boss rich?" Wang Jingyang sighed. "You can say that he's the richest man at the foot of the mountain." He looked as though he had suffered a blow. He was about to retort when a thought struck him. Suddenly, he sized Pei Yuqing up suspiciously. "Have we met before? You look so familiar." Lin Yan really didn't want Pei Yuqing to stay here any longer. Otherwise, who knew what kind of shocking things these guys would say? These single dogs were definitely jealous of her. They couldn't bear to see her doing well. "Sorry everyone. My boyfriend is here to pick me up. I'll leave first. Please help yourselves. Doggy, don't worry. I'll keep your little secret to myself. Also, you can stay here from now on. Just treat this as your own home. Don't stand on ceremony." When Wang Jingyang saw that Lin Yan had left, he howled in shock. "F***ck. You left just like that? What kind of bird did you take with you? Why did you throw it at me? What do you mean by your own home? This is my home. You haven't even paid for my food and drinks. Also, I don't have any secrets." However, Lin Yan had already disappeared with Pei Yuqing in tow. Wang Jingyang was so angry that he almost fainted. He glared at Xiao Ji in exasperation. What a waste of his efforts to help the evildoer. Cloud Manor. She had finally left that chaotic place. When she reached home, there was no one to disturb her. She could finally talk to Pei Yuqing. "Mr. Pei, it was really a misunderstanding. They were just spouting nonsense. You won't be angry about this, right?" Pei Yuqing removed his jacket and sat down on the couch. He glanced at Lin Yan and asked, "What if I get angry?" Lin Yan was startled. She tried to put herself in his shoes. They had been apart for so long, and Pei Yuqing had finally rushed back to give her a surprise. In the end, a man had appeared out of nowhere and claimed to be her boyfriend. Anyone would be angry. However, she was indeed a victim this time. Lin Yan looked conflicted, but she had no choice but to confess honestly. "Mr. Pei, Xiao Yao is my part-time boss. You know that. I don't know that young man, but he seems to have mistaken me for someone else. He thinks that I'm his senior sister. He has nowhere to stay and can't find his way home, so I arranged for him to stay at Doggy's place. As for Xiao Ji, you really don't have to care about him. He's just an insignificant person. Besides, he's so ugly and poor. How could I possibly like him? Don't you think so?" End of this chapter. Chapter 1160. Pei Yuqing glanced at Lin Yan. "Where's Wang Jingyang?" Lin Yan blinked and contemplated this question seriously. Then she replied, "Doggy. He can't do anything about it. It's fine if he's poor and ugly. I don't mind. After all, a mother wouldn't mind her son being ugly." Pei Yuqing was speechless. Lin Yan replied sincerely, "Anyway, dear, nothing is more important to me than you. You have to believe me." Lin Yan had just started to coax him when she heard a loud rumbling sound coming from her bedroom. Lin Yan turned her head and saw the mischievous ragdoll rummaging through the drawers and cabinets. Everything on the desk had been overturned by it. It had extended its claws and was about to reach for the bottles on the dresser again. Lin Yan wailed and dashed into the bedroom at lightning speed, ignoring Pei Yuqing. Unfortunately, Cat's Claw's speed was too fast. By the time she rushed over, The bottle of Snow Domain Ice Muscle Potion that she had just opened was already in trouble. More than half of it had spilled out. Little B** starred. What grudge do I have against you? I picked you up and provided for you to eat and drink. And this is how you repay me? How many times have you done this? Lin Yin felt a sharp pain in her heart. She hurriedly used a cotton pad to salvage the situation and patted her face and neck frantically. Meanwhile, in the living room, Pei Yuqing was speechless as he stared at his wife, who had just said that nothing was more important than you. Then, she had forgotten about him because of a bottle of lotion. His expression was indescribable. Lin Yin, who was still immersed in her grief, didn't notice Pei Yuqing's reaction. Pei Yuqing sighed softly as he massaged his temples. A second later, the man raised his head and saw Lin Yin, who had been in the bedroom, dashing towards him anxiously. Before Pei Yuqing could react, he felt his glasses being taken off his face. Then he felt a chill on his cheeks. The girl's hands were pressed against his face. Lin Yin applied the lotion for him as she yelled anxiously. Hurry! Hurry! Apply more! Don't waste it! Apply some to your neck too. Pei Yuqing was speechless. Pei Yuqing's face darkened as he watched his wife work on his face. She had even unbuttoned his shirt. Nothing is more important than me. The man raised his eyebrows and asked in a low voice. Lin Yin froze when she heard him. She coughed softly and looked embarrassed. No, I'm not being stingy. I'm definitely not being stingy. It's this ice muscle lotion that's really useful. This is the star product of Nature Hall. It's a small molecule glacier water from the Himalayas at 5,182 meters. It's moisturizing, antioxidant, and fresh. Lin Yan's voice became softer and softer. In the end, she realized that she was in the wrong and decided to use her trump card. Mr. Pei, we haven't seen each other in a long time. Since you're finally back, why don't we go on a date tomorrow? Pei Yuqing's expression softened as he glanced at Lin Yin in surprise. You can do it? Of course not. If Sister Ling found out, she would be dead. If he was photographed, he would be done for. However, ever since Pei Yuqing had possessed her body and sent her a text to ask her out, Lin Yin realized that Pei Yuqing seemed to be obsessed with dating. However, their relationship didn't seem to be a relationship at all. They hadn't even gone on a date. Hence, this was the only way she could coax Pei Yuqing. Hence, Lin Yin had no choice but to bite the bullet and say, sure, of course. Anyway, my rumored boyfriend is everywhere. It's not a big deal even if someone takes a photo. Pei Yuqing was speechless. Lin Yin replied, what I mean is that you're different from those rumored boyfriends. Our date is open and above board. Pei Yuqing pressed on. What if someone takes a photo? Lin Yin muttered, Lin Yin realized miserably that this seemed to be another fatal question. Nature Hall's Ice Muscle Lotion sold one bottle every 6 seconds and had received more than 110,000 reviews. Those who stayed up late to watch dramas could use it with the purple bottle essence. The effect would be even better. End of this chapter. Chapter 1161. If she was caught, Sister Ling would definitely cover it up with public relations. However, Lin Yan's survival instincts told her that she couldn't answer him. When she met Pei Yuqing's cold eyes, Lin Yin gritted her teeth and replied resolutely, so what if I manage to get a picture? If it's caught, we can just publicize it. Lin Yin thought to herself that she could just wear a pair of sunglasses and a hat and go somewhere with fewer people. She wouldn't be photographed anyway. Pei Yuqing studied Lin Yan's righteous expression, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a smile. In that case, I don't have to worry. Lin Yin replied, don't worry. Pei Yuqing nodded and said, let's go to the amusement park tomorrow. Lin Yin was speechless. Go to the amusement park? Lin Yin felt as though she had been struck by a bolt from the blue when she heard that. There were too many people at the amusement park. She was popular now, so there was a high chance that she would be recognized. Besides, Pei Yuqing was also very eye-catching. Tomorrow was the weekend, so it would definitely be crowded. What's wrong? Pei Yuqing cast a suspicious look at her. She had bragged. Even if she cried, she had to continue bragging. Lin Yin clung to a last glimmer of hope. Mr. Pei, this doesn't seem to suit your tastes. Do you like amusement parks? Pei Yuqing replied, I do. Lin Yin had no choice but to reply tearfully. Oh, it's fine. Amusement parks are good. That night, Lin Yin couldn't sleep. In the end, she couldn't help but get up and call Duo. Darling Duo, I have something. I want to ask you. Why are you calling me so late at night? What's so important? Qian Duo sounded sleepy. Ahem. It's quite important. Lin Yin deliberated over her words before she said. If I expose my relationship, what would happen? The other end of the line fell silent for a moment before Qian Duo replied. Nothing much. Lin Yin felt a glimmer of hope. Nothing much? Does that mean it's fine? Qian Duo yawned and replied calmly. Nothing much. Sister Ling will just break my legs. The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched. Is it that serious? I used to have a lot of scandals too. Qian Duo said angrily. How can it be the same as before? Have you thought about the consequences of this? Your career has finally taken a turn for the better. If your relationship is exposed, you will be torn to shreds by Pei Nanchu's fans. Don't you know how scary Mr. Pei's fans are? Lin Yin was speechless. Lin Yin was rendered speechless as she listened to Duoduo's rant. Why didn't this girl listen to her? How could she insist that her boyfriend was Pei Nanchu? Sister Yen, if you don't want to die, you'd better hide him well. Otherwise I won't be able to collect your corpse, Lin Yin whined. Baby, calm down. I told you that my boyfriend isn't Mr. Pei. We're really just relatives. Who are you trying to fool? You can't hide this from me. My guess can't be wrong. Lin Yin was speechless. You've only guessed a third of it correctly. Chapter 1162. Lin Yin tried to explain to Duo but to no avail. In the end, she had no choice but to hang up. The next day, Lin Yin woke up with dark circles under her eyes. After thinking about it for the whole night, she had finally figured it out. She had to deal with whatever came her way. If someone had taken a photo, she would just publicize it. She had been through a lot. However, even though Lin Yin had this thought, she couldn't help but shudder at the thought of Pei Yuqing's fans. Although Pei Yuqing wasn't in the entertainment industry, his loyal fans were 100 times scarier than Pei Yuqing's fans. Are you sure you want to go? Pei Yuqing, who seemed to sense Lin Yan's hesitation, paused at the entrance. Lin Yin met Pei Yuqing's eyes, which seemed to be able to see through everything. Of course. We agreed last night. How can I go back on my word? Besides, I don't have much time to spend with you. It's rare that you want to go somewhere. Even if you want to go to an amusement park, I will go with you. Pei Yuqing chuckled softly and stroked the girl's hair. You don't have to. Finally, Lin Yin arrived at the amusement park, feeling as though she had made a huge sacrifice. As expected, the amusement park was crowded on the weekends. No wonder it was the biggest and most luxurious amusement park in the capital city. It was as dreamy as a fairy tale. However, the fees were exorbitant. You couldn't bring your own food, as the food there was 10 times more expensive than outside. If you didn't want to queue, you had to pay for a ticket to use the express lane. Even so, there were people queuing 365 days a year. Fortunately, everyone was having fun and didn't pay much attention to the people around them. Lin Yin was wearing a pair of large sunglasses, so she didn't attract much attention. What troubled her most was that she had no idea what to do at an amusement park. Who would have thought that the Queen of Scandals, who had seen countless scandals, was actually a straight woman who had no sense of romance at all? Lin Yin felt that she was out of place. Just as she was feeling awkward, she felt a sudden warmth on her palm. Pei Yuqing had grabbed her hand and carefully avoided the crowd. He pulled her to a stall that sold all sorts of cute hairbands and accessories. Next to the stall, there were a few couples who were also choosing their hairbands. One of the girls was whining happily to her boyfriend. Darling, this is so cute. I really want it. Will you wear it with me? Me? How am I supposed to wear this pink one? The boy looked at the overly cute pink Mickey Mouse ear headband with a troubled expression. Aya, come with me. It's so boring for me to wear it alone. How cute. In the end, the boy still couldn't resist his girlfriend's coquettishness. Fine, fine, fine. I'll do as you say. Pei Yuqing picked up a pink cat ear headband and glanced at Lin Yan. Do you want it? Lin Yan stared at the adorable headband and scratched her head. Isn't it too childish? Moreover, what the heck was this? Why was a hairband so expensive? 99 yuan for one? I'm not even willing to buy it for 90 yuan. Pei Yuqing leaned forward slightly and pressed his forehead against the girl's. I like it. Wear it with me, okay? He asked softly. Lin Yan felt as though she had fallen into a volcano. Her body temperature rose, and she almost emitted smoke. Like a computer whose program had been modified, she immediately corrected herself. All right. Bye. I'll buy it for you. I'll wear it with you. Come on, let's talk about a love that will make us bankrupt. End of chapter. Chapter 1163. Lin Yan accompanied Pei Yuqing as he put on the pink cat ears. Then, Pei Yuqing led her to the photo booth. Lin Yan studied the colorful photos before she glanced at Pei Yuqing. She felt as though the image of Pei Yuqing in her heart had been overturned. Mr. Pei, you want to take this photo? Lin Yan looked incredulous. Pei Yuqing lowered his eyes and tightened his grip on the girl's hand. Can I? Lin Yan glanced at the price. It was only 10 yuan per photo. It was quite cheap. Of course. It's my treat. Lin Yan replied generously. 10 minutes later, the two of them came out of the photo booth. Pei Yuqing had taken more than 600 photos and had developed every single one of them. 1 minute was 60 seconds, so 10 minutes was 600 seconds. They had taken an average of 1 photo per second. More than 600 photos cost 10 yuan per photo. That was a total of more than 6,000 yuan. Lin Yan had assumed that Pei Yuqing wanted to take a few photos casually. She hadn't expected that Pei Yuqing would take photos like this. She stared at the huge bag of photos in a daze. Let me pay. Pei Yuqing, who seemed to have noticed Lin Yan's pained expression, spoke up. Lin Yan gritted her teeth as she scanned the QR code. No, I said that it's my treat. Besides, it doesn't matter who pays. My boyfriend's money makes my heart ache too. Pei Yuqing was startled when he heard the second half of Lin Yan's sentence. Then his eyes turned gentle. However, I really didn't expect you to like taking photos so much. Lin Yan's impression of Pei Yuqing had been toppled again and again today. Pei Yuqing's eyes darkened when he saw the surprised expression on the girl's face. We've never taken a photo together. Even the photo on the marriage certificate had been edited with software. We've never taken a photo together. Lin Yan didn't notice the strange look in Pei Yuqing's eyes, so she couldn't understand him. Even if they hadn't taken a photo together, there was no need to take so many photos at once. After they left the photo booth, Pei Yuqing picked up his phone and texted for a long time. Lin Yan didn't think much of it when Pei Yuqing whipped out his phone. After all, he was a busy man, and it was rare for him to take time out for a date. What Lin Yan didn't know was that Pei Yuqing had uploaded the photo to a WeChat group. Pei Yutong. F***CK. Big brother. Didn't you return to the headquarters? You're back. When did you get back? You didn't even tell us when you came back. And you actually went on a date with sister-in-law? Also, are my eyes blind? Brother, what is that thing on your head? Your sister-in-law likes it. Pei Yutong replied. No way. Big brother, you're spoiling her too much. Pei Yutong typed. How dare you take pictures with big sister-in-law? You've never even taken a photo with me, your own brother. I want it too. Pei Nanshi replied. Big brother, I know you don't like crowded places, but girls like to visit amusement parks. Big brother, you've been abroad for a long time. You should spend more time with big sister-in-law. Pei Yuqing replied. I know. Pei Yutong was speechless. Wait a minute. Why does this amusement park look so familiar? After taking the photo, Lin Yan accompanied Pei Yuqing to visit the amusement park. There were merry-go-rounds, bumper cars, haunted houses. Meanwhile, Lin Yan and Pei Yuqing were riding on a roller coaster. End of this chapter. Chapter 1164. Due to the extreme speed, all the tourists screamed, and some even cried in fear. Aha! Put me down. I don't want to sit anymore. Put me down. Mommy, save me. Two girls were sitting in front of Lin Yan. Their voices were loud and clear, and Lin Yan's eardrums were about to burst. The boy behind her was a burly man who was over 1.9 meters tall. His screams were even more exaggerated than the girls'. He was bawling like a pear blossom in the rain, as he yelled for Lin Yan to be let down. Lin Yan, who was being attacked from all directions, looked dazed. She even yawned, feeling a little sleepy. If her disciples, teammates, enemies, and fans knew that the racetrack's Grim Reaper Yave had gone to an amusement park to ride a roller coaster, they would probably start doubting their own lives. Lin Yan was really bored. She glanced at Pei Yuqing and realized that he didn't seem to fit in with the group of people who were screaming and crying. The man didn't look like he was riding a roller coaster. Instead, he looked like he was taking a leisurely stroll. The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched. It seemed like Pei Yuqing had no gaming experience either. So, what exactly did they spend this money for? Lin Yan couldn't help but lean closer to Pei Yuqing. Pei Yuqing, are you sure you like these things? Pei Yuqing glanced at the girl beside him. His deep, forest-like eyes revealed a hint of a smile that rippled like a ripple. He replied unhurriedly, I'm not interested. Lin Yan was dumbfounded. She couldn't understand what Pei Yuqing was thinking. Ha! You're not interested? If you don't like these things, why do you want to play every single one of them? That's such a waste of money. Of course, I'm not saying that it's a waste of money. The point is, since you don't like it, there's no need for you to do these things. Pei Yuqing fell silent as he gazed at the girl. What I like isn't doing these things. I like doing them with you and wasting time with you. Lin Yan's heart skipped a beat when she heard him. The little deer in her heart was racing again. Pei Yuqing studied the girl's dazed expression. You don't think this is exciting enough? Lin Yan couldn't go against her conscience. She couldn't help but say, it's a little. For an experienced driver like her, this roller coaster was like driving a school bus to kindergarten. As soon as she said that, a shadow fell before her eyes. A second later, she felt something soft on her lips. His cool lips had kissed her without warning. Instinctively, Lin Yan gasped and tried to retreat. However, the kiss deepened in an instant. The man kissed her ferociously, as though he wanted to melt her into his bones. The roller coaster, which was originally extremely slow in her eyes, suddenly sped up thousands of times. After an unknown period of time, the speed of the roller coaster finally slowed down. Slowly moving towards the end, Lin Yan was finally released when the car stopped. Pei Yuqing stretched out his hand and stroked the girl's red lips with his long fingers. What about now? Is it exciting? Lin Yan was speechless. This car wasn't going to the kindergarten. In her entire life, the fastest ride she had ever taken wasn't during the World League, but on this roller coaster. Chapter 1165. After they got off the roller coaster, the two of them entered a restaurant to take a break. Pei Yuqing ordered a cute cartoon ice cream and a drink. Lin Yan scanned the table and realized that there was only one ice cream and one drink. Did you only buy one each? Pei Yuqing replied, yeah, one is enough. Lin Yan felt a little embarrassed. I'm not that stingy. Why don't we buy one more? I'll. Before Lin Yan could finish her sentence, Pei Yuqing grabbed 2 straws and placed them in the drink. Then, he scooped up a spoonful of the drink and fed it to Lin Yan. Open your mouth. Lin Yan froze on the spot. She blinked and instinctively opened her mouth. Pei Yuqing's eyes twinkled as he fed her a mouthful. Is it delicious? Oh, it's delicious. Lin Yan covered her cheeks, which were filled with sweetness. She finally understood why he had ordered only one. At the same time, Lin Yan was struck by a sudden realization. Going to the amusement park, going on an adventure in a haunted house, riding a roller coaster, sharing an ice cream, drinking a drink with 2 straws, wasn't this what she had written in her notebook when she was in a relationship with her boyfriend? When she had first gotten together with Pei Yuqing, she hadn't known how to be in a relationship at all. Hence, she had done a lot of research online and even made a lot of notes. Why did Pei Yuqing know so much? Air. Alright, he must have seen it when he had possessed her. So Pei Yuqing had brought her to the amusement park to complete her wish list? At this thought, Lin Yin couldn't help but recall what Pei Yuqing had said. It's not because I like doing these things. It's because I like doing them with you. When she was at the age where she should be playing and having fun, her life had been focused on finding ways to earn money. She hadn't had the chance to experience the things that her peers liked. At one point, she had thought that she didn't like them and didn't need them. The feeling of being cherished and cherished by someone made her feel extremely satisfied and touched. It was as though the missing part of her life had been filled. Oh my God! Lin Yin sighed heavily as she held her forehead. Pei Yuqing raised his eyebrows. What's wrong? It's nothing. I'm just feeling a little emotional. What kind of dog shit luck do I have to find such a perfect boyfriend? Most importantly, I don't even need to pursue such a perfect boyfriend myself. Wasn't this a little too easy? It's so surreal. Lin Yin sighed. On second thought, she realized that she hadn't done anything to be with Pei Yuqing. Pei Yuqing had been chasing after himself. Otherwise, with her own EQ, she wouldn't be able to catch up with him even after 8 lifetimes. Pei Yuqing's eyes were gleaming as he stroked the girl's hair. Miss Lin, it wasn't easy for me to woo you. If it wasn't for the fact that his consciousness had uncontrollably entered her body, if it wasn't for the chance to start over, perhaps he wouldn't have let himself get close to her in this lifetime. Lin Yin scratched her head. Air. Alright then. It wasn't easy for you to complete the task of 2 people. Chapter 1166. After they left the restaurant, Lin Yin and Pei Yuqing wanted to find a place to take more photos. However, before long, Lin Yin frowned, feeling as though she was being watched. Hold on. We're being followed. Lin Yin halted cautiously. It might be the paparazzi. Should we split up? Asked Pei Yuqing. Lin Yin shook her head. If it was the paparazzi, we would have been photographed. There's no point in splitting up now. Lin Yin pondered for a moment before she tugged at Pei Yuqing's hand. She glanced at a place with fewer people nearby. Let's go there. Soon, the 2 of them reached a secluded garden. Indeed, the footsteps were right behind them. When they turned a corner, Lin Yin spun around and chased after the figure. Lin Yin was so fast that it was too late for the other party to run. The other party was probably wearing a bear costume to disguise himself. It had been hard to spot him when he had blended into the crowd, but now that there was no one around, he was very conspicuous. However, Lin Yin hadn't expected that the fellow would be so fast despite his bulky costume. He seemed to be very familiar with the amusement park, so Lin Yin had left him in the dust. F***CK. Why is he running so fast? Lin Yan's head hurt as she stared at the fork in the road ahead. Once that fellow blended into the crowd, it would be difficult to find him. Pei Yuqing followed behind Lin Yin and closed his eyes. A few seconds later he opened his eyes and said left. Lin Yin turned to Pei Yuqing. How did you know? I captured some of his mental energy. Is it that powerful? Damn it. Why didn't I evolve such a powerful ability? This is so useful. Lin Yin ran in the direction that Pei Yuqing had pointed. Indeed, the 2 of them saw the bear. Lin Yin raised her leg and kicked the bears, but when she saw that it was about to run off in a different direction. Roar! The bear howled and fell to the ground. Lin Yin immediately stepped on the bear's waist and yelled, Run! I told you to run. Hurry up and hand over the film. Ow! Woo woo woo! The big teddy bear spoke as it howled, but because it was wearing Roar's mask, it was impossible to hear it clearly. Lin Yin stepped on him and was about to continue threatening him when she saw the huge teddy bear holding its head. A second later, it plucked its head off. Lin Yin saw Pei Yutong's head poking out of the costume. Roar! Sister-in-law! It's me! It's me! Feet! Release your legs! Sister-in-law, my waist is going to break. Pei Yutong wailed like a ghost. Damn! Pei Yutong? Why are you here? Lin Yin, who hadn't expected that the person following them would be Pei Yutong, was stunned. She hurriedly let go of him and helped him up. What are you doing here dressed like this? I'm working part-time here. Pei Yutong scowled miserably as he rubbed his buttocks with his plump paws. Lin Yan scrutinized him from head to toe. Are you working part-time here? Yeah, can't I? How much money do you need? Lin Yan was speechless. Pei Yutong glanced at Pei Yuqing with an aggrieved expression. The team is going to compete soon, and the expenses are too high. I promised my brother that I would earn my own money if I wanted to race. I have an important competition next week, so I have to replace the parts of my car. End of this chapter. Chapter 1167. Lin Yan quipped. Then why are you following us? I'm doing a part-time job and I want to gossip. I saw my brother's photo in the group chat and realized that you guys were at the amusement park where I worked. I was curious to see how you guys were going on a date. Lin Yan was speechless. What's so interesting about a date? Haven't you seen enough of this part-time job? Pei Yutong snuck a peek at his brother as he said, Others have seen it many times, but this is the first time I've seen my big brother. Pei Yutong blurted out excitedly, Sister-in-law, I really didn't expect you to like this kind of thing. You even went on roller coasters. Roller coasters are just like children's toys to you. It's not exciting at all. Lin Yan glanced at Pei Yuqing unconsciously and coughed softly. She rubbed her nose and said, No, it's quite exciting. Exciting? No way. Sister Yan, touch your conscience and say that again. How is it exciting? Pei Yutong looked perplexed. If I say it's exciting, then it's exciting. Shut up. Oh yeah, you're here at the right time. Since you like watching your brother on a date so much, you should watch as much as you want. Come over and take a photo of me and your brother. Lin Yan demanded of Pei Yutong. Pei Yutong shook his head vigorously. I can't do that. I still have to work. He had eaten enough dog food along the way. Lin Yan asked, Here's the money. Is 10 yuan enough? Pei Yutong replied, 10 yuan is too little. Are you trying to bribe me? Big sister-in-law. At least give me more. Lin Yan asked, How much do you want? Pei Yutong raised 5 fingers. You have to pay at least 50 cents more. Lin Yan hesitated for a long time before replying, All right. Deal. Your costume looks pretty good too. Later, you can be our backdrop, and we can shoot together. Pei Yutong tried to bargain. Sure, but you have to pay more. 50 cents more. You want an extra 50 cents? Don't trick me. It's your job to take photos with the tourists. I've already paid for the ticket. You don't have to pay more. Lin Yan said righteously. Pei Yutong fell silent for some time before he blurted, Sister-in-law. Lin Yan asked, What? Pei Yutong's expression was complicated. Do you have some misunderstanding about my brother? Lin Yan rolled her eyes at him. Why would I misunderstand your brother? Pei Yutong replied, Do you know who is the richest person in the country right now? Do you know how many assets my brother has under his name? Sister-in-law, you really don't have to be so stingy. Really? The girlfriend of JM Group's boss is bargaining with a temporary worker for 50 cents at an amusement park. If the media finds out, they'll think my brother is broke. Lin Yan blurted out. What has that got to do with me? You're the younger brother of JM Corporation's boss. You're still working at the amusement park. Besides, your brother's money isn't mine. Pei Yuqing chimed in unhurriedly. It's also your money. It's also your money. The moment he spoke, Lin Yan felt as though she had been smashed by a mountain of gold. She almost fainted. Big boss. Don't say such scary things. P.S. I've finally written the story on the cover. That's right. The bear on the cover is Pei Yutong. End of this chapter. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.